Welcome to Thrivers Ed, the podcast that's all about giving you the practical, no-nonsense advice you need to level up your life and business. I'm your host, Marcy Rossi, success coach, business strategist, and alcohol-free enthusiast. If you're ready to crush your goals, optimize your productivity, and live your best, most authentic life, then you're in the right place. Each week, we'll dive into topics like the psychology of success, practical strategies to boost your performance, and the unexpected ways living alcohol-free can elevate your life. Whether you're looking to boost your business, improve your health, or simply become a better version of yourself, Thrivers Ed is here to help you do just that. So grab your iced coffee, buckle up, and let's get thriving. Welcome back to another episode of Thrivers Ed. Today, we are digging into one of the most common questions that I get from coaches who are starting to package up their coaching programs or offers. And that is, should I set up an application or should I just have a buy now button? And if they don't come to me with that question, that's a question that I am asking them because it determines the entire flow that comes afterwards. And I have a very short answer for you, and that answer is, it depends. So don't worry, by the end of this episode, you're going to have enough to think through to know which model is best for you. But in a nutshell, there's some things that you're going to want to think about before you pick one of these options. So why you might want to have an application in the first place, or why some people out there will kind of assume this is the way that you're going to go. An application isn't just like looking fancy. It's not a way to make you seem exclusive or to kind of make it more challenging for someone to buy from you. It's about filtering out so that you're not wasting your energy on someone who's going to end up being a total headache or nightmare client. You're going to cut down on your refund requests. And so these applications are a way to kind of pre-qualify the leads to make sure that you're bringing the right people in that are going to have some success from your program. It's going to help you get information and understand their mindset before you have a conversation, which will make that conversation more effective. It makes everything more thoughtful, more tailored, more just simplified, really, by getting this background information. And don't forget that the information that you use is written in their own words, right? So you now get voice of customer on top of that because they've basically told you exactly what their problems are and what they really want. So I said it's not really about feeling exclusive, but that is another thing too, right? It feels like this is a step up from just a basic, $37 program, because it is. This isn't just socks that they're adding to cart and buying on an impulse. This is a true transformation that we're offering here. So when you're deciding whether or not to have an application, you've got to know your audience and what it is that you're really selling. If what you have is more of like a low ticket offer, something that's a little bit more of a no-brainer, or if your audience is really motivated and they want something now, but they have to wait around for you to review and approve their application, that's how you lose sales. So I want to talk pros and cons of having an application versus a buy now button. So pros of having an application. You get to filter out those red flags, right? This is pretty important, especially if you have a group program and there's someone in there that can bring down the entire vibe or even effectiveness of the group as a whole. So filtering out any of those people, think nightmare clients, people who are bound to ask for refunds or are going to be impossible to please. It's not worth the money at that point. Your time and energy would be better devoted to someone who's really going to benefit from spending time with you. It positions your offer as premium, right? We kind of talked about this, that if someone has to apply for it, it means not just everybody can have it. You get to collect valuable information ahead of time, and that information, again, is voice of customer research. You can talk through objections and get someone who's off the fence. So if someone is kind of interested in there and they're not exactly sure, they're not going to hit the buy now button, but they might apply and learn a little bit more about what exactly it's like to work with you. And you get a chance to have a conversation about whether or not it's a good fit and counter any of those objections that they may have. So you get to turn those kind of almost ready buyers into clients by continuing the conversation. That said, applications definitely slow down the process, right? You're not going to make money the second that they are ready to apply. There's at least one more step after that. It can intimidate people. For people who are ready to buy, they now have to add another step, and so they may bail. And then it can be intimidating. People who don't really want to feel judged, I guess is the right word there. And that could lead them to just not even bother with the application. And then, of course, there's some tech setup for you, right? You need to actually review the applications. You need to have links. We need to have scheduling. We need to have calendar invites, whatever those next steps are. That, of course, is going to be a step for you. Now, if we look at the other side of this and letting people buy instantly, that's fast. It's friction free. It leads to money in your pocket much faster, right? This is really good for warm leads who already know that this is what they want. And it's a lot easier for you, right? You have to add that purchase button, make sure it's connected to your payment processor, and then just let it go. That said, you run the risk of losing people who need that conversation to feel confident in taking that next step. And as we mentioned, there's not a filter in place. So anybody with a credit card can jump in. And especially if you're running a group program, this can kind of jeopardize the flow and vibe of that group. I hate the word vibe, but I don't really know what word would be better here. It's that, the atmosphere of the group there. Or it can just make the next, 3 months, 6 months, however long your private coaching program or offer is, just feel miserable because the two of you are not a good fit, but the money has already been put down. And if someone is on the fence, buy now button can be too intimidating and they may just bounce out because they're kind of ready. They're just not there. And a conversation from you would really be helpful in pushing them over the edge. So let's assume you're going to do an application. We want to get all the information you need and absolutely no more, right? So this is not a 20-minute application. They're not joining your university. So we need to know the basics and we need enough information for you to have an effective sales conversation on this because that's what it is, right? We are trying to help people decide if our program is the right one for them. So what you need to include in your application, obviously some basic info. Who are they? How do you get in contact with them, right? Their name, their email. Like for me, I ask for people's business, their website and information about their business because that's what we do. We work on their business. So what do you absolutely need to know about them? Some other questions that can really help you understand where they are in the process is, why are they interested in this now? What feels pressing for them? What are they struggling with? What challenges do they have? And then on the flip side, what does success look like? This can help you see if they are like kind of dreamers or a little too idealistic. If they're expecting that after your 1 month program, they're going to make $1 million, they're going to probably be sorely let down after that, right? So making sure that they have a realistic vision of what's possible and if they're actually ready to do the work. And then what have they tried before, right? This helps you see some red flags. If they say nothing has ever worked before or I've never tried anything, like those aren't necessarily no's, but there are things you might want to dive into a little bit deeper before you can understand if this really is going to be a good pairing for the two of you. And then the last question is one that I occasionally get pushback on, but I think it's really important. And I think it's around whether they are ready to invest in the program. And this is where I put the price of my program. I don't put it on the sales page, but when you apply, you're going to see it. And I can tell you right now that people will land on my application page. They'll see that number and they will click out. And this saves me, honestly, a lot of wasted time. I can tell you that early on in my career, when I was doing business coaching, I had a call with someone and I had given her the price of the program and I didn't say it was in the thousands and I didn't say 1,000. I said, I think it was like $24.99. Let's say that was the price. And she took that to mean $24.99. And so having that conversation, if she knew up front that this was a multi-$1,000 program, it's going to be a little bit different than thinking it's a $25 program, which no shade to her. If you've never done coaching programs and you don't really know what else is out there, you don't have a frame of reference. So give people a frame of reference, right? If they don't feel the pain enough, the discomfort enough to pay whatever it is for your program, then they're not ready. Right? You can try to convince them on the call and do all of your bro marketing sales tactics to try to convince them at this point that this is what they need. I'd rather just have people that are already convinced, right? I've tried to show you on my sales page why this is the right offer for you. And so if you're not convinced at that point, I don't really want to waste my time trying to show you how life can be better, how I can make this easier for you. Now, if you're nervous, if there's things that you're not sure about, like absolutely we can have a conversation. But my goal is not for me to show that this really is the next right step for you. It's for me to answer the question so that you can decide that for yourself. So having a simple question like, this program, I'm going to read my exact question 1 second. Okay, I pulled up my application. So it says, getting your business set up the right way is an investment that saves you time, frustration, and lost opportunities. And this experience starts at $4,000. How do you feel about investing in this level of support? So that is what's on my application. It says that working with me one-on-one for 3 months, where I am doing all of the behind the scenes work for you, it comes with a premium price tag, right? And letting people know that up front means I don't have people jumping on the call thinking that something like this should cost $40, right? They already know that this is a valuable offer and they're willing to at least figure out how to make that work, right? And so there's options there, letting them know like there's payment plans available. It's not like I necessarily need all of this money up front. Like there are ways to make it happen if it's something you want to make happen. But I just want you to not be blindsided with the price, to have some kind of frame of reference. And if people see that and they're like, oop, absolutely not, then I didn't waste time on a discovery call trying to convince them otherwise. Okay, so let's assume someone applies for your program. My next question is, now what? Well, this is where you get to decide how you want to run your business. You're the CEO of your business. There's no right way to do this, but we want to have some kind of intentionality behind it, right? We're not just like now what happens? So you have a couple of options here. The first is to automatically redirect to a calendar booking page or to use your calendar booking page as the application. So what they would do is let's say you have Calendly as your booking provider. So when they are going to book the appointment, they book an appointment called, the shortcut application or whatever it is. And you ask all the questions you want to ask, the investment question, what they're struggling with, what they really want. And so in that, what you've gotten is all the information that you need. And they're already on your calendar to have a conversation. There's no back and forth. There's no reviewing things. They automatically get on your calendar. The other way to do this is if you're using a different application for the form, like Jot form or fill out or whatever the tool is, you can have them fill out the application and then go to a calendar booking page. This can be helpful when people get a little intimidated by seeing that calendar invite. Like if they click application, it takes them straight to booking a call. They're like, ugh, I don't know about booking a call yet. But if they filled out that application and then they get taken to book a call, they've already started moving forward and it's easier to continue moving than to kind of start, right? So an object in motion stays in motion. If they've already started filling out the application, they're more likely to finish the process. So that's where having that calendar integrated either directly, like the event itself is the application, or the application immediately redirects to a calendar, that is one of the options here. It's really helpful if you get a lot of applications and you want to streamline your time, right? There's just kind of one step. This works best when you trust that your questions are going to weed out some of those red flags, or you're willing to cancel appointments when it's glaringly obvious that this person is not right for you. So yes, it can save you time. There is a possibility that you will get calendar invites from people that are 100% very on the face, not a good fit for you. And then you have to decide if you want to cancel that versus manually controlling your calendar and the acceptees. That is option 2, right? Manually reviewing the applications and then proceeding with the next step. So they apply, you read over it, and if you're like, yes, this seems like a good fit, then you can send them the link to book. This is actually what I'm using right now. I originally did number 1, where they booked with my calendar invite. And I think that my audience was intimidated by seeing a calendar invitation. And so instead, they just fill out the form and then I follow up. And I've seen some small improvement in that, so I'm going to continue sticking with this. I know that in general, an application is going to slow down the effectiveness or slow down my sales, let's say it that way, because people, when they have a problem and they want it fixed now, this slows things down. So it's already going to be slower than a buy now button. That said, because I work so closely with people and spend a lot of time with them over 3 months, I only accept the people that I know are going to be ideal fit clients, where both of us are going to have a win-win at the end of it. So I don't mind that it's slower. I don't mind that I'm not having a bunch of sales come in, because anyway, the amount of people that I could accept at any one time is limited. So I couldn't actually just have a buy now button on my website without some kind of controls about the number of sales. And this way I get to make sure that the way I'm working, the time that I'm having with my clients is actually the best time that I can be having. So I'm okay with the fact that I don't have applications flooding in for my programs at any one time, because the application itself, again, is a barrier to sales, but it works best for my business. And again, sometimes you just have to test to see what works. So that was kind of a little bit of rambling. What I was trying to say was, if you want to do that manual review, you get more control over who gets your time. No one gets on your calendar unless you send them the invite. This is really good for those high ticket offers when you only want to have conversations with people that you know are going to be solid leads. And one of the fun things with this is that you can add on like a personal touch. So you can send them a voice note or maybe like a Loom video or something to add that human touch before the call. Like, oh my gosh, Susie, I loved your application. This is exactly the kind of person that I love working with. I can already see us doing X, Y, and Z. I'm so confident that we can get you to ABC, whatever. Can't wait to chat with you on the call. If you have any questions in the meantime, text me here, whatever. Just showing you're a person, especially in this day of AI, which I know I've talked about before, but adding in some of that human touch in there is just a pleasant surprise for someone who applies. Your third option is just to skip a call altogether, right? Maybe you see the application, and if they're a yes, you just send them a link to book. This works if you honestly hate the idea of discovery calls or sales calls or whatever you want to call them. If your offer is very clear and people are ready to buy, but you just really want to have more control over who can buy your time, and if you trust yourself to close a sale over email versus the opportunity to counter objections in an actual conversation. So that is a possibility for you. Just because other people use discovery calls and sales calls doesn't mean you have to. It is your business. Now, if you see an application and people aren't quite fits, or if they don't follow through and actually book the call, whatever that next step is, now we're going to nurture them, right? Maybe you drop them into a particular nurture sequence. Maybe you invite them to a free training or a low ticket offer. Maybe you add them to a wait list or a future interest list to follow back up with in the future. Like, we don't have to drop this person. They've at least raised their hand to say, I'm somewhat interested in this offer. So let's continue nurturing that relationship, and maybe they will be perfect fits down the road. Again, you're in charge of the flow. You don't have to do what everybody else does. Do what feels sustainable and feels good to you, but still delivers a strong, pleasant customer experience, right? Okay, so to kind of summarize, use an application if the offer is high touch and or high ticket, if you only want to work with a certain type of client, if you want to filter for fit, if you want to stay in control of your calendar. And another reason you might use an application is if you want to connect personally before the sales, like through DMs, calls, a Loom video, voice note, whatever that thing is. Having an application first, because you get to ask for their contact info, gives you a way to start or continue that conversation. That said, you're going to use a button instead of application, a buy now button, if it's a lower cost offer or a low touch offer, right? A course, a template, a resource. Like, don't make them apply for your mini course. If it's not involving like high touch, if it's not using a lot of your time, just let them purchase it. If your people are already warm, if you know they already want this thing, let's just give them a button, right? If you just want it to be simple, if you don't want to have to deal with like looking at every person that comes through, have a button there. So yes, you can also do a hybrid. You can have an application or a buy now button and another button's like, hey, you want to talk about this first? And some people could either apply or book a call with you or whatever. So you're kind of trying both options to see what actually works. And that is another possibility there for you, is to kind of do both. So moving into our Thrive in 5 today, first step is look at the actual offer itself. Does it really need a conversation, or would it really benefit from a conversation? Or can someone confidently buy it without needing to talk to you, and you can confidently deliver it without needing to know a lot about that other person? So that's number 1, audit your offer. Number 2, if you're choosing to do an application, create 3 sharp questions. So let's keep it tight. What do you actually need to know, right? Obviously, you need their contact information. I would suggest adding questions about their challenges or pain points and what success looks like. And then if you have more room, if you're going to go beyond 3 questions, I think a question about whether they are ready to invest, or at least having the price somewhere on the sales page, is going to cut down those opportunities where people just aren't going to be good fits for you. They're not willing to even find ways to make that purchase work. And honestly, this is a whole nother tangent, but there's usually opportunities for payment plans that can be reasonable. Like for my programs, I have a payment plan that's as low as $150 a month for people who live in the US, right? So hopefully that person is able to make it work. If you really need something, you'll find ways to make things work. And if they don't really need it, then they don't really need it. And there's no reason for us to kind of push that transformation on them. So anyway, that was a little tangent about payment plans, but craft some application questions. Keep it short and sweet. Just get what you need. Each additional question is another barrier to them actually finishing it. Okay, number 3 is decide on your next step. Are they going to a calendar page? Are they just getting a thank you page? It says like, thank you, I'm going to review your application. I'll see you later. If they have a buy now button, do they get taken to a thank you page? It gives them the next steps. Like, don't leave people hanging. Make sure they know exactly what's going to happen next, whichever route you choose. Number 4, if you're going to use a buy now button, double check your sales page. Does it answer everything someone would need to know to say yes? And if not, we need to fix this, right? Going over the common objections of time and money and anything else that is keeping people hung up. Make sure that your page doesn't require a conversation from you if it's really not necessary and if you want to have that buy now button. And the last piece, number 5, is test your flow. So whether you choose an application, an instant checkout, some kind of hybrid model, just check it, test it as if you're a new lead. Go through and actually apply, book the call, whatever that thing is, make sure it works and make sure it makes sense. So like I said, the short answer to all this, should you make them apply or just let them buy? It depends, right? You get to decide that. But now you've seen the pros and cons of both. And of course, you can test one, test another, and then see what works best. And if you want to see my application for the shortcut to kind of steal that as your own or inspire your own application, the link is in the show notes. You can also just go to marcyrossi.com/shortcut and you will find an application there. Until next time, keep thriving.